Have you ever felt like something deep inside you is waking up, even if you can't explain why? Like something is shifting, not just around you, but inside you? Maybe you can't put it into words yet, but your spirit knows. Something in you is leaning in, paying attention, even before your mind can fully understand it. And I want to tell you, it's not a coincidence. It's not random. It's divine timing. You didn't land here by accident. You didn't click this by mistake. This moment was meant for you. You were guided here. God brought you here. And He didn't do it suddenly. He waited until the exact moment when everything inside you was finally ready to receive this truth. Not just with your ears, but with your soul. This message isn't just something to listen to. It's something to feel. And if something inside you is stirred right now, if something feels different, it's because you're stepping into the season that was always meant for you. Not too early, not too late, but right on time. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. God wasn't rushing you to match the speed of the world. He was aligning you with the rhythm of heaven. Quietly, patiently, deliberately. And now the rhythm of heaven is moving in your favor. Not because you forced it, not because you earned it through pressure, but because your soul finally aligned with the truth of who you really are. This is not a breakthrough you created through effort. This is not something you pushed into being. This is sacred. This is divine. This is a moment that God has orchestrated with love and precision. You see, God doesn't choose people at random. He chooses people on purpose. And He doesn't reveal what's sacred until it's been made strong. What He placed inside of you wasn't meant to be revealed when it was still fragile. It had to be fortified. And now, it is. You didn't skip any steps. You lived every part of your journey fully. Every hardship, every lonely night, every silent tear, every time you chose faith over fear. It all built something holy inside of you. And because of that, what's rising in your life now won't need defense. It will speak for itself. You won't need to convince anyone. You won't need to explain your growth. It will be undeniable. Because real fruit doesn't argue. It just grows. And it nourishes those who see it. The reason people are noticing something different in you is because your light is no longer hidden. It's glowing. Not because you tried to make it glow, but because you became clear. Clear about who you are. Clear about who you're not. Clear about what to carry and what to let go of. Clear about where your peace comes from. And most importantly, clear about who sent you and why. You are not the same. Something inside you has shifted, and you don't need anyone's approval to feel it. You don't need the outside world to confirm it. Because deep down, you know it's real. That clarity, that knowing, is your greatest power now. Because when a chosen one becomes clear, fear starts to lose its voice. Distractions lose their grip, and the lies that used to make you question yourself, they don't even reach you anymore. You are not confused. You are not lost. You are unveiling. You are stepping out of waiting. You are stepping into becoming. And everything around you is starting to respond to that shift. Doors are opening. Opportunities are flowing. Not because you begged, but because you aligned. This isn't luck. This isn't magic. This is God's perfect timing moving through your life. Isaiah 60:1 says, "Arise, Shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. That's not just a verse. It's your story. Your light has come, and it didn't come because you became someone else. It came because you finally let go of what was never meant to define you. You are now walking in your original design, the version of you that existed in God's heart before the world tried to shrink you. And now that you're clear, the world will begin to reflect back that clarity. Think about Oprah. She was told she wasn't good enough for television, rejected, overlooked. But once she became clear about her voice, her purpose, her presence, nothing could stop her. She wasn't chasing fame. She was unveiling what had always been inside, and the world couldn't ignore it. That same energy is rising in you now. That same quiet strength. You're no longer interested in old battles. You're not trying to prove anything. The desire to convince people has faded. Why? Because your alignment has begun. And when you're aligned, you stop chasing. You start becoming. God didn't choose the version of you who needed constant reminders. He chose the version of you who learned how to walk by faith even when no one was watching. The version who grew in silence. The version who didn't give up when it would have been easier to quit. Psalm 37, 5-6 says, "Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. He will make your righteousness shine like the dawn." And that's what He's doing right now. You surrendered your way. You let go of your timeline. And now God is making your life shine. Not for applause, but for purpose. Not to be loud, but to be real. Unshakably real. That's the difference. Anyone can make noise, but only truth can move hearts. Look at Nelson Mandela. For 27 years, he sat in a prison cell, but he wasn't waiting idly. He was being refined, prepared, sharpened, and when he walked out, he didn't walk in confusion. He walked in purpose. He didn't emerge asking for permission. He walked in authority. That same preparation is what has been happening in you. That's why old relationships are falling away without drama. That's why peace has replaced pressure. That's why doors are opening without force. You've changed, not by pretending, but by returning to yourself. And now, the real question is this: will you walk through these new doors without shrinking? Will you let yourself take up the space that was always yours? Will you stop trying to fit into rooms that can no longer hold your light? Romans 8:30 reminds us, those He called, He also justified. Those He justified, He also glorified. You are not here by chance. You were called, and now you are stepping into the part where God shows why. Look at Malala. She could have chosen silence after the attack, but she didn't. Her clarity of purpose made her fearless. She didn't need permission. She walked in her assignment. And today, her voice echoes across nations, not because she chased fame, but because she stood in truth. You are now entering that same kind of season. This isn't about recognition. It's about responsibility. It's about becoming so anchored in who you are that no one can unseat you. You move differently now, not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. You've stopped searching for peace and started becoming it. You used to wear peace like a shield. Now you wear it like your skin. It's not something you try to show. It's just who you are. And this transformation, it didn't happen overnight. It was built through years of refining, through long seasons of silence, through every moment God pulled you aside and whispered, "Not yet." But now is the yes. You are not just walking in a promise. You are becoming the proof. And proof doesn't argue. It doesn't beg. It doesn't shout. It just exists. And when it appears, everything has to respond. Proverbs 4:18 says, "The path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter." That's you. You're shining brighter, not through effort, but through alignment. Have you noticed how people treat you differently now? How they pause before speaking to you? How they show more respect without you even asking? That's not ego. That's energy. That's the power of spiritual growth. Look at Princess Diana. It wasn't her title that moved people. It was her essence, her compassion, her presence. She didn't demand attention. She carried peace, and the world felt it. You are carrying that same energy now. You've become more quiet, more intentional. You're not explaining yourself to people who were never meant to understand you. You're protecting your spirit. That's wisdom. Your life is starting to speak for itself. And soon, the very people who once overlooked you won't be able to ignore you. Isaiah 41:10 says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." God has been holding you this whole time. And now, He's revealing what He was building in you all along. Look at Howard Schultz of Starbucks. Raised in poverty, faced rejection. But once he became clear on his vision, he didn't beg for attention. He led with quiet strength. His results spoke for him. That's where you're going now. Your relationships are refining. Your voice is growing stronger, not louder, stronger, not forced, anchored. Everything about you is changing, and it's beautiful. Romans 8:31 says, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" You no longer need human permission to be who God created you to be. Your presence speaks. Your alignment whispers truth louder than any shout ever could. Even Elon Musk, with all his controversy, moves in clarity. He doesn't chase approval. He walks in vision. That's what you're doing now. Vision doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be clear. Will you protect this clarity? Will you protect your peace as your influence grows? Will you keep your spirit rooted as your life expands? Because, chosen one, this is only the beginning. You are not rising to impress the world. You are rising to fulfill heaven's purpose. And the rooms you're being invited into now, you won't walk in questioning your worth. You'll walk in carrying the proof of it. So take a deep breath. Let this moment settle in your soul. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where God wants you to be. And now, the unveiling begins. Let the world see what God has been building in silence. The version of you that exists right now is the one heaven has been waiting for. And what's coming next? It will need no introduction. It will speak, and it will be undeniable. Chosen one, something inside you has changed. It didn't happen all at once, but little by little, a shift began deep in your soul, quiet at first, and now so powerful that you feel it in everything. You're not the same as before. Your energy, it is different. Your presence speaks before you do. The rooms you enter don't feel the same when you walk in. It's not because you're trying harder. It's because you've stopped trying to be anything other than who you were made to be. You're no longer forcing yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. You're no longer looking for approval. You're walking in your truth now, and that truth has become your strength. You carry a new frequency. It draws the right people closer and gently moves the wrong ones away. Not with conflict, but with clarity. Not through fear, but through peace. You're not seeking attention. You're not chasing validation. You're simply showing up with your full, authentic self. And that alone has changed everything. You're not trying to shine. You are the light. And it's not shining to glorify you. It's shining to reflect the one who prepared you for this moment. You're no longer entering rooms wondering if you're enough. You're no longer adjusting yourself to be more likable or acceptable. You've realized that your value doesn't change based on how others see you. You've let go of that old weight. Now, your presence carries truth, peace, and authority, and you're not performing anymore. You're just being. You're not shrinking to make others comfortable. You're standing tall in who you are. This is not ego. This is divine alignment. Matthew 5:16 says, "Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." That's what your life is doing now. You're not trying to be seen. You're not begging for space. You are becoming the evidence, and people can feel it. They can feel something sacred moving through you. Look at your journey, the delays, the silence, the rejections, the heartbreaks. All of it had purpose. If God had elevated you too soon, you would have spent your energy trying to defend yourself to people who weren't meant to understand you. But now, you don't have to explain anything. The fruit of your journey is speaking for you. The peace you carry is undeniable. The transformation is visible. You no longer have to convince anyone of your worth. Your life is the proof. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You've remembered that you were already chosen from the beginning. Even before you were born, you were marked. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." God has never forgotten you. And now the time has come for the world to see what heaven has always known. Your appointment was never canceled. It was simply being prepared. The rooms that used to overwhelm you now feel different. The people who once overlooked you now pay attention. The conversations lean toward you without you trying. That's the result of spiritual maturity. You've been refined in silence. You've been trained in the dark. And now, the light on your life is not just bright, it's stable. You don't need to defend this season. You don't need to make announcements. You don't need to post every blessing or prove every open door. God is showing the world who you are, and He's doing it through your walk, your calm, your peace. You've become the message. The way you carry yourself, the way you respond, the way you stay grounded. This is the evidence. Think about Joseph. He was overlooked, lied on, forgotten. But when his time came, he didn't walk in with noise. He walked in with wisdom, and the room recognized it. The same thing is happening with you. You're no longer reaching. You're attracting. You're no longer performing. You're embodying. You're no longer trying to prove you're chosen. You're living like you are. Romans 11:29 says, "The gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable, Your purpose is not fragile. Your anointing is not temporary. And now that you've accepted that truth, you don't need outside approval anymore. Your life is rooted. Your spirit is settled. And everything around you is starting to move in response to that stillness. You are not here by luck. You are here by divine timing. And the reason the blessings are showing up now is because you're finally ready to hold them. Not just with excitement, but with grace. Not just with celebration, but with wisdom. You're not second guessing anymore. You're not walking in fear. You're walking in peace. You remember the hidden work, the late nights, the unseen faith, the tears you cried alone. God saw it all. He stored every moment as a seed. And now, the fruit is appearing, not because you shouted for it, but because you surrendered. The shift is not just in your life, it's in your spirit. You've let go of the urge to rush. You've let go of the need to announce. You've let go of survival mode. You're not waiting for the blessings to disappear. You're not doubting if you deserve them. You know, you remember the cost, and you carry it with reverence. Psalm 23:5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows." That's what's happening now. Your cup is starting to overflow, not to show off, but to reflect God's goodness. And nothing can stop it. Not jealousy, not confusion, not opposition, because this is your appointed time. You are no longer hoping to be seen. You are no longer wondering if your time will ever come. It's here, and it's flowing to you with ease because you finally stopped chasing what was never meant for you and started walking in what was always yours. This isn't a moment to fear. This isn't a high that will crash. This is your new rhythm, and it will last. You are not in a fragile season. You are in a fortified one. You don't need to hustle. You don't need to push. The blessings are flowing because your soul is aligned. You've grown into someone who doesn't just receive, they carry. You don't just shine, you sustain. This is why your peace is louder than your voice. This is why people pause when you speak. This is why rooms shift when you enter. You've been prepared. You've been tested. You've been made ready. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly on time. And the world is beginning to see why heaven waited for you. You, chosen one, are the evidence. You always have been. And now, finally, you believe it too.
Have you ever met someone who didn't say much, didn't try to impress, didn't do anything loud, but for some reason, you just couldn't forget them? Chosen one. That's who you've become now. You no longer chase attention, but attention finds you anyway. You don't try to be noticed, but people notice something about you without even understanding what it is. You don't perform, you don't push, and you don't pretend, but your energy says everything. It doesn't shout, it glows. It doesn't demand, it warms. And the glow you carry now isn't from a spotlight, it's from within. There is something different in the air around you. Something subtle, something unspoken. It's not in your hairstyle or your cologne. It's not in your smile or your body. It's in your presence. You're no longer just a man people see. You're a feeling people experience. And the ones who feel deeply sense it before they even look your way. Women glance at you and try to play it off. But you catch that second look. You notice the quiet smile. She didn't mean to show. The way her fingers brush her arm like her body is trying to calm itself. It's not because of your jawline. It's not because of the way you walk or how you talk. It's something deeper, your energy. You carry something now that makes people pause, something that reaches beyond the surface, something that doesn't come from charm. It comes from peace. That's why she says you're too cute to reject, not because you're cute in the usual sense, but because your energy makes her forget how to protect herself, because something in you awakens something in her. You're not trying to be magnetic anymore. You're not doing anything to be desired. You're just being. And somehow, that's more attractive than any effort ever could be. You've stopped chasing admiration. You've stopped molding yourself for approval. And in that quiet surrender, you've become rare. You've become the kind of man who doesn't try to be enough. He just is. And that quiet confidence changes everything. The moment you walk into a space, something shifts. The air gets warmer. Time feels slower. People breathe differently, and they don't even know why. Your sexual energy doesn't need to speak loudly. It doesn't push. It doesn't bark. It purrs. It hums beneath your skin like something ancient and sacred. It's not in your words. It's not in your gestures. It's in the space between all of it. In your calm. In your quiet gaze. In the fire that stays low and steady behind your eyes. She doesn't understand why she wants to keep talking to you, why she feels like lingering, why she hopes you'll say one more thing. But her body knows. Her spirit knows. You're not just pleasant to look at. You feel like safety. You feel like stillness and depth in a world that's always rushing. She doesn't want to leave, and she doesn't know why. It's because you've stopped trying to shine, and somehow now you shine brighter than ever. You've stopped choosing sides within yourself. You're no longer only soft or only strong. You're both. You carry softness in your laugh, strength in your silence. You don't need to dominate to feel powerful. You don't need to chase to feel wanted. You stand still. But something about your stillness feels alive, feels electric. Like you're holding something sacred you're not trying to show off, but it's there, and she can feel it. You've become a man who doesn't chase women, yet they're drawn to you anyway. Not because you're doing anything, but because you're not. You've stopped playing the game. You don't wear masks. You don't change yourself to be what someone wants. You've become real, and real is rare. You don't push. You don't pull. You don't press. You invite. You open space. You allow things to unfold. And people respond to that energy because it feels like peace. She may have come into the room with her guard up. She may have told herself not to get involved, not to look twice, not to speak too much. But then you said something light, maybe even silly, not to win her, not to charm her, just because you were being yourself. And something in her opened. She laughed without knowing she needed to. She smiled without trying to. She forgot she had walls, because your energy didn't ask her to take them down. It made them unnecessary. You didn't perform confidence. You didn't deliver lines. You didn't posture. You didn't pretend. You simply were. And that was more than enough. You didn't lean in. You didn't touch. You didn't flirt. but she leaned closer anyway, because your stillness did more than any pickup line ever could. It said, "You're safe here." It said, "I don't need anything from you." It said, "I'm just enjoying this moment." And that kind of energy, quiet, steady, sincere, is unforgettable. Your smile now comes from your soul. It's not for effect. It's not for praise. It doesn't say, "Look at me." It says, "You're welcome here." It carries no pressure, no agenda. It isn't trying to win anything. It rises because you're genuinely at peace. And when she sees that, when she sees your face reflect that inner calm, her body relaxes, her voice softens. She starts to feel safe again, not because you promised her anything, but because your presence reminded her of something she thought she lost: joy, ease, safety. You don't try to win her laughter, but she laughs anyway. You don't try to be charming, but she feels charmed. You don't try to take, but she finds herself giving, not because you asked, but because your energy made it feel good to give again. That's the power you carry now. Not force, not persuasion, but pure presence. And that presence is what creates space for someone to return to themselves. That's why she doesn't walk away. Not because you asked her to stay, but because walking away would feel like leaving a moment that felt like home. You don't chase anymore. You don't push. You don't try to be liked. You're not measuring your words. You're not calculating your expressions. You're not strategizing your every move. You're simply existing. And your existence has become something healing. You've become the man who doesn't try to be unforgettable, but is. You've become the man whose peace makes her want to come back, even when she doesn't know why. She didn't expect to open up. She didn't want to connect. She had her armor on. She had her plan ready. But then you looked at her, not like someone trying to get something, but like someone who simply sees. And in that gaze, she felt like she didn't have to try anymore. She didn't have to earn your attention. She didn't have to impress. She could just be. And that is what makes her heart soften. That is what makes her trust. That is what makes her want to stay. You no longer try to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. You no longer ask for permission to be accepted. You've accepted yourself fully. And that self-acceptance radiates. It creates gravity. It creates peace. It changes the air around you. And the people near you feel it. Especially the ones who've forgotten what real presence feels like. Especially the ones who are tired of games. Especially the ones who've learned to protect themselves, even when all they ever wanted was to be safe. You are not a man who takes up space. You're a man who holds space. You're not a man who demands to be seen. You're a man who sees. You don't perform. You don't pretend. You don't push. You rest. You breathe. You are. And in that being, you've become magnetic in a way no performance could ever match. Women don't fall for you because of what you say. They fall for you because of what they feel in your presence. And what they feel is something they haven't felt in a long time. Freedom, softness, warmth, truth. You didn't flirt your way into her mind. You reminded her of who she is. You didn't seduce her with lines. You made it safe for her to laugh again. You didn't chase her heart. You created a space where her heart wanted to come out on its own. You didn't use charm to unlock her. You used peace. And peace is what breaks down walls more gently than any word ever could. That's why she says you're too cute to reject. Not because you tried to be, but because you didn't need to be. You've become the kind of man who doesn't need approval to feel whole. The kind of man whose smile asks for nothing but gives everything. The kind of man who stands still while the whole world runs and makes people want to slow down just to stand beside you. Because in your presence, they feel something they've been missing, something they thought no longer existed. And once they felt it, they don't want to let it go. You didn't become unforgettable by being perfect. You became unforgettable by being real, by being whole, by being the kind of man whose quiet heart speaks louder than the loudest voice in the room. And now, chosen one, the world doesn't just see you, it feels you. And that kind of energy, that kind of peace, that kind of light, that's the kind of beautiful nobody ever wants to walk away from. You were kind to her, and that kindness made her stop and think. You didn't want anything from her. You didn't chase her. You didn't try to impress. You were just calm, present, and whole, and that confused her, because she wasn't used to a man like that. You didn't push her. You didn't try to break down her walls. You just stood in your truth, without pressure or performance, and somehow that made her feel safe. Her rules, meant to protect her, started to feel unnecessary, because you weren't pretending. You weren't trying to take anything. You were just there, steady, real, and at peace. She told herself not to feel anything, but her body softened anyway. She smiled more. She lingered longer, not because you pulled her in, but because something in you felt good to be near. She couldn't explain it, but your energy stayed with her, not as a memory, but as a feeling. You didn't try to seduce her. You didn't flood her with words. You simply made her feel seen, and not for her looks, or her body, or her voice, but for something deeper. You made her feel like she could just be herself. No performance, no pretending, just rest. You weren't waiting to be chosen. You had already chosen yourself, and that made you powerful. Not loud, not arrogant, just grounded. You didn't need her to complete you, and that made her feel free. She didn't feel used. She didn't feel pressured. She felt like her walls could finally come down. You became the one man she couldn't push away, not because you begged to stay, but because your presence stayed with her, even after you left. She won't say you haunted her. She'll say you stayed, because you didn't try to be remembered. You just were. And that kind of peace is too rare to forget.
Have you ever felt like you're not from here? Like the way you see and feel the world just doesn't match how others move through it? Have you ever sensed things you couldn't explain? Noticed energy in a room change without anyone saying a word? Or felt like something deep inside you was always leading you somewhere, even when you didn't know where it was taking you? There's a quiet storm inside you, a gentle but powerful force that both hurts and heals, breaks and builds. And maybe, all this time, that strange inner feeling has been your soul trying to tell you something. That you're not lost, you're not broken, you're chosen. And while that may sound beautiful, the truth behind it is much heavier than most people know. Being one of the chosen ones doesn't mean everything is easy or magical. It means walking through pain that doesn't always make sense. It means carrying light in a world that often wants to stay asleep. It means being called to wake up again and again, even when it hurts, even when it costs you everything. And it means facing things in silence that others would never survive out loud. These are the things no one tells you about being chosen. Not the nice, polished things. The raw things. The unseen things. The kind of truths you carry in your chest like weight. But the weight doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're real. People will misunderstand you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your spirit moves in a way they can't recognize. You'll feel isolated, even when you're surrounded by people. You'll try to connect, try to love, try to give, and still feel like you're on the outside looking in. There are days when you'll wonder if something is wrong with you. Why do people walk away without reason? Why do the ones you love ghost you? Why does it feel like no matter how kind, how patient, how loyal you are, you're still left standing alone? It's not because you're unworthy. It's because you're different. And that difference is sacred. Even when it feels like punishment, your energy moves differently. It speaks a language the world has forgotten. So the universe has to pull you away sometimes. It separates you so you can remember who you are. So you can unlearn everything you were taught and become everything you were born to be. But the separation feels brutal. The silence feels endless. There are nights when you cry not because you're weak, but because no one sees you. No one hears what your soul is screaming. And sometimes all you want is just one person to understand. Not fix you, not save you, just see you, just feel you. But often, the chosen ones aren't seen by others until they've already survived the fire. And while you're trying to heal, trying to grow, trying to figure out your path, you'll also feel targeted, not just by life's problems, but by people, by energies, by strange patterns that don't seem fair. You'll notice that the more you heal, the more darkness tries to attach to you. You'll feel drained after simple conversations. You'll feel hurt by people who smiled in your face. You'll feel exhausted by friendships that seem good at first but leave you empty later. Your light doesn't just shine, it exposes. It makes people uncomfortable. It brings truth to the surface. And truth is hard to look at when someone's been hiding from it their whole life. That's why you attract both admiration and attack. You're not just a person to others. You're a mirror. You reflect their wounds, their fears, their truth. And that reflection can feel like a threat to those who aren't ready to heal. So they'll project their pain onto you. They'll say you're too much, too intense, too emotional. They'll try to dim your light without even knowing why. They'll betray you, drain you, or try to control you, all because your energy activates something in them they tried to keep buried. And you'll feel like you're going crazy, wondering why people are so drawn to you, but also so quick to hurt you. But you're not crazy. You're just different. You're not cursed. You're called. And your path isn't about pleasing others. It's about remembering your power. You've probably felt this since you were a child, that you didn't think like other kids. You didn't play the same way. You didn't talk the same way. While others laughed and ran, you sat quietly and listened to things no one else noticed. You could feel the tension in a room before anyone spoke. You could tell when someone was lying, even if they smiled. You could see behind the mask. You weren't taught this. It was always there. But instead of being nurtured, you were misunderstood. Maybe your teacher said you were distracted. Maybe your family told you to toughen up. Maybe your friends called you weird, and so you learned to hide. You shrunk yourself just to fit into spaces that never felt right. You ignored your own truth just to avoid being left out. You pushed away your sensitivity, your dreams, your strange sense of knowing, just to be accepted. But it never worked. Deep down, you still felt alone, still felt like an outsider, still felt like no matter how much you tried, something about you just didn't match the world around you. That wasn't your imagination. That was your soul, whispering, reminding you that you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, and not for attention, but for impact, because you're not here just to exist. You're here to heal, and not just yourself, but others. You've probably noticed that people come to you when they're broken. Strangers open up to you. Friends call you when they need advice. People trust you with their deepest wounds. They sense your energy. They feel your peace. They don't always know why, but they know they feel safe with you. And so you become their anchor, their light, their hope. But what happens when you need that too? What happens when the healer is hurting? When the strong one breaks? Too often, no one sees it. No one checks on the one who checks on everyone else. No one holds space for the one who holds the world together. And so you suffer in silence. You cry alone. You sit in the dark, giving yourself the comfort you wish someone else would offer you. You keep showing up. Keep giving. Keep smiling. Not because you're okay, but because you care. But deep inside, you wonder, will anyone ever love you the way you love them? Will anyone ever notice the pain behind your kindness? The storm behind your strength? Your mind doesn't rest either. It keeps spinning, overthinking, replaying things that others have already forgotten. You catch every detail. You hear what wasn't said. You feel what wasn't shown. Your thoughts go deep, and they never stop. It's like your mind is always searching for something: truth, meaning, answers. And while that brings wisdom, it also brings exhaustion. You feel everything, all the time. You can't turn it off. And sometimes, it feels like too much. There are days when anxiety creeps in, when sadness comes out of nowhere, when your chest feels heavy for reasons you can't explain. And because you've been strong for so long, you tell no one. You put on the brave face. You keep going. But inside, it's a battle between light and darkness, between hope and fear, between wanting to give up and knowing you can't. Because something inside you still believes that all of this has a purpose, that this pain is shaping you, that your mind, though chaotic, is sacred. It holds insight. It holds vision. It holds the future. And you keep going even when no one claps, even when no one sees, even when your heart is breaking and your soul is tired. Because deep down, you know you're here for more. You know you've been called for something bigger than just surviving. You know your life has meaning, even if the world hasn't shown you yet. And though the journey is hard, you are still here, still rising, still glowing, because you're not ordinary. You're chosen. And everything you've been through, all the pain, all the silence, all the loneliness, is shaping you into the person you were born to be. Rejection doesn't happen once or twice when you're someone chosen for something greater. It happens again and again until it starts to feel normal, like it's just part of your life. It shows up in different ways, but it always carries the same message. Just when you're about to rise, something falls apart. Just when you think a door is finally opening, it slams shut. People walk away without explanation. Opportunities disappear without reason. Things you were excited about suddenly break apart. And no matter how ready you feel, it keeps happening. And each time it cuts a little deeper, not because you're weak, but because your heart is wide open. You care. You try. You give everything. And yet, it still feels like the world keeps turning away from you. But what if that rejection isn't here to destroy you? What if it's here to protect you? To save you from something your eyes can't yet see? It doesn't feel that way in the moment. It feels cruel. It feels personal. You cry over the jobs you didn't get, over the people who didn't stay, over the love that didn't last. You wonder if you're doing something wrong. You question your value. You whisper to the universe, "Why do I keep getting hurt like this?" But no matter how many times your heart breaks, something inside you refuses to give up. You keep going, not because it's easy, but because a quiet voice inside keeps whispering, "You're not finished. Keep going." That voice is the deepest part of you, the part that remembers, the part that knows you're here for something sacred. You were never meant to settle for what the world calls enough. You were meant to rise above what's average and step into something higher, something divine. And every rejection wasn't a failure. It was redirection. It was the universe saying, "Not here. Not yet. Not with them. Because your path is different." Your soul came here with a mission that most people can't see or understand. And that's why not everyone can stay. That's why some doors must close, even when you're still standing in front of them with hope in your eyes. Maybe you've also been told you're too much or not enough. Maybe you've been made to feel like being yourself is a problem. Too emotional, too quiet, too intense, too soft, too spiritual, not practical enough. No matter how you show up, someone always has something to say. And over time, that kind of judgment gets heavy. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if you should change, shrink, or hide just to be accepted. So you tone yourself down. You dim your light. You try to make others comfortable, even if it means making yourself small. But the truth is, you were never made to fit in. You were made to break the mold. You're not here to blend in with the world. You're here to wake it up, to show it beauty it forgot, to speak truths it's afraid to hear. And yes, that comes with a price. It means being misunderstood. It means being talked about. It means people walking away from you because they don't know how to handle your depth, your honesty, your soul. And even though you've learned how to stay strong, those words still leave marks. You carry invisible bruises. You smile, but it hurts. You keep showing up, even when it feels like nobody really sees you. But you keep doing it because your spirit knows something the world has forgotten. You are sacred just as you are. You don't need to change to be worthy. You don't need to fit into someone's idea of normal to be valuable. And maybe you've also known the pain of sudden loss. The kind of loss that doesn't come with warning or explanation. One moment everything feels right. A friendship you cherish. A job you love. a relationship that feels like home. And then, without reason, it all slips away. You try to hold on. You give your heart. You pray. You try to fix it. But it doesn't matter. It still ends. And you're left standing there, confused, grieving something you thought would last. It doesn't make sense. You wonder what you did wrong. You wonder why everything fell apart after you gave it